All right, welcome back. We are on Unit 5 now with our ACT prep, which is going to be about coordinate geometry. Day 1, we're going to talk about graphing inequalities on a number line. All right, so graphing inequalities on a number line. An open circle shows that a point is not included, and that would be when your symbol is either less than or greater than. The closed circle, which you fill in, shows that a point is included. And to get closed circles, you need either less than or equal to or the greater than or equal to. In other words, you need the or equal to. An arrow shows that the line continues forever in that direction. So if I want to graph x is greater than 3, okay, I go to 3 on the number line. Since there's no bar, it's an open circle. In other words, 3 is not included. But this says that my answers, my solutions, my x's, I want to include all of the x's that are bigger than 3. So I draw my little arrow going this way, and I color that in, saying it goes on forever and ever in that direction. Okay, so to graph x is greater than negative 3, there's no bar, so negative 3 is going to get an open circle. Since it's greater than, in other words, it's eating that says you go to the right. Now, be very careful, guys. The thing with inequalities is people assume that you can just color or shade the way that it points. And you can if your letter is on this side and your boundary or whatever is on the other side. Because I can write this backwards. If I wrote negative 3 is less than x, these two statements are the same. But if this was the way they had written it, you trusted and could shade the way it points, you're going to shade the wrong way. You've got to pay attention to what's facing x. This says, even though you would read negative 3 is less than x, that's true, but when you're trying to figure out where to shade, you're shading all of the x's that are bigger than negative 3. Okay, when you have these betweens, this says that I want all of the x's that are between, not including, but between negative 2 and 4. So negative 2 is going to get an open circle, and 4 is going to get an open circle, and I'm going to shade everything in between. Okay, number 3, x is less than or equal to 0. That bar underneath there means I include it, so 0 is part of the solution. And this says I want all the x's that are smaller than 0. Well, that would be going this direction. Okay. All right. Graph negative 4 is less than or equal to 5, which is less than 5. That's how you read that. What it means is you want all the x's that are between negative 4, including negative 4, which means closed circle, and positive 5, but I don't want to include the 5. And then I want everything in between. Okay? Now in this one, I don't know where to graph. I need a statement, either like a between statement like this, or just x is either less than or greater than something. So this one we're going to have to solve. And just remember, when you're working with inequalities, anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, that will flip your inequality. So I'm going to move, just because I like my x's on the left. Okay, you could move the 2x over and avoid a negative. But then again, if you do that, your x is going to be on the other side, and you run the risk of shading the way it points, which is going to make it wrong. So I'm going to move my 3x with a negative 3x, which gives me negative x plus 1 is less than 2. Then I'm going to minus 1. So I have negative x is less than 1. Then I have to divide by negative 1, which is going to flip my inequality. That gives me x, and that gives me negative 1. So to graph that, it says they want all the x's that are bigger than, not including, negative 1. So negative 1 is going to get an open circle, and then I want all the numbers that are bigger. Okay. All right, so you try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got D. This says I want all of the x's that are between, including negative 2, so that's going to be a closed circle, and between 5, but don't include 5, so that's going to be an open circle, and then I want everything in between. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got H. Okay, which inequality is graphed below? Well, this says that I want all of the x's bigger than and including -3. So I got to figure out which one of these simplifies down to this solution. Well, we know it's got to be greater than or equal to. So this one was close, but no dice. So if I look at G, I have 3, if to distribute, 3x plus 3 greater than or equal to 15 minus 3x. So let's see, if I get my x's on the same side, I'm going to add 3x, I get 6x plus 3 greater than or equal to 15 minus 3, 6x greater than or equal to 12. When I divide by 6, I get x is greater than or equal to 2, which is not what I wanted, so G is not it. If I test at H, alright, I have x plus 1 greater than or equal to, distribute this, I get -5 times 1 is -5. -5 times x over 5 would be a -5x over 5, which just reduces down to -x. So then if I get x on the same side, I'm going to add x. That gives me 2x plus 1 is greater than or equal to -5. Minus 1 minus 1. 2x is greater than or equal to -6. Divide by 2, and x is greater than or equal to -3. That is my solution. And you could check the other ones, but once you find it, I wouldn't. Alright, so just a whole bunch of more practice. Alright, we have x is less than, not including -1. So -1 gets an open circle, and less than means to the left. Number 2, x is greater than or equal to -2, so -2 gets a closed circle, and this wants everything bigger, so that would be to the right. 3, x is greater than or equal to -1, so -1 gets a closed circle because of the or equal to. This says everything bigger, which would be to the right. Number 4, x is greater than or equal to 3, which means 3 is included, closed circle. Greater would be to the right. 5, x is less than -3, so I do not want to include -3, so open circle, and everything less would be to the left. Number 6, x is greater than or equal to 4, means I want to include the 4 and everything bigger. Okay? Number 7, x is greater than -5, so I do not want to include -5. Open circle, greater would be to the right. Number 8, this says I want all the x's that are between and including 5 and -2, but don't include that. Okay, and I shade this way, or in between. Okay, number 9, they want all of the x's that are between and including -3 and positive and including 1, and everything in between would be there. 10, they want all the x's between and including +2 and not including -2, and everything in between. 11, they want all the x's between -3 and -1. They do not want to include -3, but they do want to include -1. 12, they want all the x's between and including 2 and 4. So 2 and 4 get closed circles, and I shade everything in between. Okay. 13, I want all of the x's between -1 and 3. I do not want to include -1, but I do want to include 3 and everything in between. 14, I want all the x's between 1 and 4, and I want to include the 1 and the 4, so closed circles and everything between. And 15, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on because I don't have x alone. So I'm going to minus 2x, that gives me x plus 1 greater than or equal to -2. Minus 1, x is greater than or equal to -3. So negative 3 is included, closed circle, and everything greater would be to the right. All right, 16, again, I got some more work to do here, so I'm going to minus 4x. That gives me negative x minus 1 less than or equal to 3. Add 1. Negative x is less than or equal to 4. Divide by negative 1, which will flip my inequality, and I get negative 4. So to graph that, I want to include negative 4 and everything greater. Okay. 17, I'm going to move my 2x. That gives me 7x plus 7 is less than 28. So minus 7, I get 7x is less than 21. Divide by 7, and I get x is less than 3. So I don't want to include 3, and I want all the numbers smaller than that. That would be to the left. Okay, number 18, I'm going to minus 3x. I get negative 8x minus 2 greater than or equal to 14. Add 2. I get negative 8x greater than or equal to 16. Divide by negative 8, which will flip my inequality, and I get x less than or equal to negative 2. So negative 2 gets a closed circle, and I go to the left. Okay, 19, I'm going to minus 14x. I get 7x plus 9 greater than 2. Minus 9, 7x is greater than negative 7. Divide by 7, and x is, I'm not flipping, even though I ended up with a negative, what I divided by wasn't negative, so it doesn't flip. So negative 1 is going to get an open circle, and I want all the x's bigger. That's going to be to the right. Okay, minus 20x, that's going to be negative 19x minus 15, less than or equal to 23. To get x alone, I'm going to add 15. I get negative 19x is less than or equal to 38. Divide by negative 19, which will flip my inequality, and I get x is less than or equal to negative 2. So I want to include the negative 2, closed circle, and everything greater would be to the right. Okay. All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got B. This says that I want all of the x's that are bigger but not including, because that's an open circle, so no bar, negative 6. Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got J. This says that my x's are between negative 5 and 1. If you go little letter big, I promise your arrows will always point left. Now, since this one is filled in, I need a bar. Since this one is not filled in, I don't need a bar. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got A. Alright, this says they want all the x's between negative 3 and 4, and they do not want to include those. So it would just be open circles and everything in between. Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Hopefully you got J. Alright, I'm going to minus 5x. I get negative 2x minus 5 less than or equal to 7. Add 5. Negative 2x is less than or equal to 12. Divide by negative 2, which will flip my inequality, and 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6, which means I need a closed circle on negative 6 and everything to the right. Okay? And try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got negative 15. It says, what is the sum of all the integers? Integers means whole numbers, not the fractions or the decimals or any of that are solutions of the inequality graph below. Well, 6 is, negative 5, all of these are solutions because they land in the shaded region. You can't include 4 because that's an open circle. So if I add all those up, alright, I get negative 15. Okay? And that'll do it for day 1 of coordinate geometry. I will see you next time for day 2.